G'day humans, Chris Stead here. Today I'm reviewing the Anker 767 PowerHouse power station. And look at it, what a powerhouse it is. This is a beast of a power station, definitely sitting in that kind of premium level side of things. Now I've taken this bad boy for some runs camping. It's kept my beer cold, it's powered my lights, powered my fridge, powered a few other bits and pieces, laptops and so forth. To take it for a bit of a run, I wanted to dive in and give you a bit of a review of my experience with this particular power station. Now, the first thing I've got to mention, of course, is the price, and this is definitely going to potentially be a barrier for a lot of you. Its recommended retail price here in Australia is $3,699. Now, that's on the pricier side. By comparison, like kind of a like-for-like comparison, iTech World has the PS2000 that goes for around $3,500, and then there's also the EcoFlow Delta Max that goes for $3,299 here in Australia. That's a recommended retail prices. I'm not sure what you'll actually end up paying, so it's definitely on the kind of upper end of what you can expect to pay if you're looking for that premium power station. When I say premium, I'm talking about not just feature rich here, but watt hours, which is what I'll go into in a bit. But all those three that I just mentioned then are offering you effectively 2,000 watt hours worth of battery. Now, you do get a little bit more for the money. This guy does come with a 5-year warranty, which is a couple of years better than its nearest competitor. So that's obviously, you know, something to take into account. It also comes with really, really good solar input. So it can take 1,000 watts worth of solar input, which for most of us general campers, guys who are going to take us out on the road, and girls, it's probably not too big a deal. You're not likely to have 200 watt solar panels on you unless you're going right out in the bush. But for farmers, potentially people who live off grid, people who may need to protect themselves in the case of a natural disaster and they might be cut off from power for extended periods of time, the fact this can take 1,000 watts of solar is something to take into account. And the other kind of, I guess, variance is the design. Now, we'll talk about the design a little bit here. As you can see, it's pretty obvious what the main design feature here that's different from this and what you might have seen on some of the other power stations in this range, and it's the wheels, 12 centimetre wheels. Apparently they're rated up to 200 kilometres or something. I don't know if you're ever going to walk 200 kilometres with this thing, but that's what lifespan they've given it. And it's also got this telescopic handle which comes out, and I'll show you that working in a second. But they've done a really good job with the design of that. It's really well integrated into the actual design of the chassis, which is a very hard plastic. In fact, it's got a drop rating on it. Well, I'm not sure if it's a drop rating. They just kind of say it'll handle drops and nicks and bumps, which is what you want, obviously, if you're going to go driving over a whole bunch of rocky terrain. And this thing could be bouncing around in your tray or in the back of your four-wheel drive. But yeah, generally really well built. It feels really strong, real sturdy, real tough, and things like the handles and the wheels, they're not just gimmicks, they're done pretty well and they're integrated pretty well. When that's away like this, a couple of good solid handles, so obviously you can't wheel it everywhere, you can't lift it into the back of a four-wheel drive with the wheels. So it's got the two handles, got the nice flat top as well, which I really like in my power stations. You'd be surprised by how often you want to put stuff on top. I've even sat projectors on top before and plugged a projector in and shined it on the back of a tent. But also for packing. And you'll come across a couple of models that have handles across the top like this, and you just can't balance them. This is also expandable, so you can actually get, you know, I mentioned farmers before, people live off grid. You can actually expand this quite significantly if you've got the cash with additional batteries to like really pretty much just double the watt hours on it, and those can just sit nice and neatly on top. So overall, with the kind of design, pretty happy. As you can see here, 3 AC ports on the front. Now they've got a 2,400 watt max, so that's pretty decent. It's kind of almost best in class, which means that it effectively means if you can be charging, you can be doing a hairdryer, running a microwave, well maybe not. That's actually, I went a little too far there, but you can run up to 2,400 watts of drain from these 3 inputs. So even though there's only 3, some of the models have 4, you're still getting pretty good on that regard, and you've got 3,000 watt surge here as well, which technically I think can jumpstart some cars, not all cars. So it will take a bit of a surge hit. However, you know, if you're using induction engine stuff, it doesn't quite get there, it kind of trips. Anyway, 2 car ports on the front here, DC, and we've got 3 USB-Cs charging at 100 watts, which is obviously good. Nothing at 140 watts, but no one's got that yet, but hopefully they'll get there soon because obviously the new MacBook Pros and stuff can take that. And USB-A's, a couple of USB-A's there. Sadly, just the 12s. So they're not really going to fast charge, but you know, you got the 100 watt USB-Cs now, and that's pretty much where we're at in life. What it doesn't have is it doesn't have the 3 volt DC ports that you sometimes get with like your camping lights, things like that. So that may be a bit of an issue, but I don't know. My camping lights have used the SIG lighter ones anyway. Up here you got Bluetooth button. Now it does come with an app, and it's a really good app. It's actually, they've done a really good job with the app. It's just really easy to look through. Good user interface, gives you plenty of information, allows you to set times and stuff. So if you're not in a rush, for example, you can change it so that it doesn't charge super fast, and that just gives the battery a bit more life. So, but if you're in a rush, you can obviously charge it a lot more. You can also set it so that it cuts the AC at a certain time. So you can, for example, put the heater on, plug a heater into this, run it, and just say in 20 minutes turn off, and even if you pass out, it's still going to turn off, right? I probably wouldn't leave a heater running in your tent, by the way, but while you're asleep. So that's pretty good. It does have power saving built in as well, so it will realise if it's not pulling any current from those AC ports, because you can turn it on like with this, and it'll turn on. And if it's not pulling current after 15 minutes, it'll shut itself down, save some power. So that's pretty handy as well. And the screen, nice big screen. There's a light up here as well, which you can see for a bit of light on the campsite. Nice big long bar. Pretty handy, especially when you're trying to find ports in the dark. And the screen gives you all the information you need, input, output, how things are going, and so forth. So pretty good with the design. I'm just going to wheel this over here, so you can see how these wheels go, but also just a bit of a comparison for you. So you can see it's pretty good on the terrain, like I said, well built. And over here, I have the iTech World PS2000, which I mentioned. So this is the one that's going for 3,500. And this has more or less the same watt-hour capacity as this bad boy. I think this is 1997, I think this is 2048, so like for like, you know, maybe you run your lights for an extra half an hour or something. But this is 30 kilograms, just over 30 kilograms. This is 22 kilograms. And you can see, maybe if you come over and have a look straight down, you can probably see the difference in size here. So it's a much bigger unit for the same amount of battery. So even though you're getting a more mobile device with the wheel and a telescopic handle, you're getting a much heavier device and a much bulkier device in terms of packing and just lifting in and out of the cars. So it's just something to consider there. This, I have previously reviewed the EcoFlow Delta, the EcoFlow, and I will put a link to that review at the end of this review. And that's roughly about the same size as this as well. But otherwise, they're pretty similar batteries all around, just a massive size difference. Let's see if we can reverse this thing back up. Beep, 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 beep. Righto, so I took both those batteries camping and ran them both for about the same amount of time. Certainly did get a good length of time out of this. So I ran it for at least 48 hours, and I was charging my fridge the entire time, and that was a fridge without, it was a 70 litre Dometic. Wasn't in summer, to be fair, but it also wasn't covered and it was sitting in the sun. So that's a pretty good run. I also ran a Jaffa line off it, ran my lights, charged my phone, charged a laptop. So a fair few bits and pieces running off it. Got an easy 48 hours out of it. And that's without putting anything into it. So I was just trying to drain it right down as far as I could, see how long it would last. Obviously, usually you're throwing some solar panels out, you're putting stuff back into it constantly, and it's pretty fast charging. I noticed when I plugged it into the wall socket, this thing was about 80% of the way to charge in an hour. It was well and truly done by an hour and a half. So charges quick despite this huge battery, and that's a huge win, obviously. In terms of the solar charging though, it's just so dependent on so many things. How many panels do you have? What's the wattage on your panels? How good's the sun that day? Is there any trees? That kind of stuff. It's going to take a lot longer. You just got to handle that. It's just across the board. In terms of kind of the packaging, I really like that it comes with its own little carry case here, which allows you to hold all your stuff securely. So you've got your solar charging, your DC and your AC for charging in a safe little satchel. That it'd be nice if it had a little somewhere to duck it underneath. I'll give you a quick look at the back. So you can see here, you've got your input charging there, your override, your solar charging, your AC, and down here as well, this is where you can daisy chain if you're adding an extra battery pack, so that's a thing. Now one thing I was kind of surprised by is you've got this nice beautiful rubber seal over this, and on the other side, you've got this covering that, but then the rest of it's all exposed. And I'm a bit surprised by that. I just, it just seems like an unnecessary risk considering where you're going to be taking this out into the red sands of the Australian desert, on the beaches, that type of thing, the places that we camp here in Australia. There's a risk there that you're going to get dust into these things, and I don't understand why you can't, in a battery this size, just do a little bit more there to cover those. You've covered it on the back, covered it on the front as well. So overall, I'm pretty happy to recommend this bad boy, even though it costs a little bit more. I do back that in with the extra security, the 5-year warranty. You're getting 3,000 life cycles, they reckon out this as well. It's a lithium iron phosphate battery in here, which is definitely something you should be looking out for. Most of them are, in fact, they pretty much all are nowadays, but it's a little more robust, it's a little bit more safer, and it's less likely to catch on fire. And that's, as someone who's had a major fire incident relating to a lithium ion battery in the past, trust me, that's something that you want to be on top of. So it's a lithium iron phosphate in here, that's a big tick as well. And so are you getting that kind of extra couple of $100 worth of value of this? You know what, you could probably argue that you are. This easy transportation around the campsite. You may be wondering, like, why would I ever do this? Why would I ever walk it around? But you do, because the sun moves during the day. This can end up in the sun. You might want to hide it out of sight when you're heading off from the campsite somewhere, for example, so that people don't walk past and go, you ripper, there's a $3,800 battery. Oh, I love that. So you do use it, so it is handy having that kind of transport. It does mean that people other than the biggest, strongest person in your group can move it. So even the kids can wheel this thing without too many drama if you ask them to do it, so you don't have to get up and put down your beer. If there's a negative, Chinese made. Up to you whether that's a problem or not. The one I showed you before is Australian made. For some of us that is a big deal, but no judgments, that's up to you. Anyway, those are my thoughts on the Anker 767 PowerHouse. Comes in at the premium end of the range, but definitely offers a premium end experience. Got the life I expected out of it, has the features that you'd expect from it. A couple of little places where it could improve. I mentioned with the app before as well, only Bluetooth, not on Wi-Fi. So that's another little place where they potentially could improve. It means you can access what's going on when you're close to it, but you can't access it over your Wi-Fi remotely if you're charging it from somewhere else. But like I said, a couple of small things like that where they could absolutely improve, but you're definitely getting a lot for your money here. But there's definitely some competitors in this space which can give it a run for its money. Anyway, I'm Chris Stead. Thanks very much for watching. Until next time, check you later.